We're just going straight YouTube. So, all right, we are live. And then go here. This is it right now. Let's go to the link. Copy. And then paste it into the Twitter things.
Into the Twitters.
Into the Twitters.
Into the Twitter.
We are live. Oh, let's go to the. You can hear the echo of me talking. Twitter.
Echo.
Okay, and there's that. So that's posted. And then let's do this. Copy that, and then jump to this. Hand, quote, retweet, and there. All right. You good? Ready to go? Ready to rock?
I'll be ready.
All right. Recording, starting, and then go ahead and start in 5, 4, 3.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's time for The Tainted Glove, starring your favorite man of questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And the Holy Reverend K-Fids himself. It's go time, so grab a beer, grab a bite, and settle in. It's time for The Tainted Glove.
Aloha. It is Monday, April 25th, 2022. And we're hoping to accomplish more than the White Sox did for the last week of this last week. With that, I'll turn it over to my partner, K-Fids. K-Fids, take it away.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We've had a little bit of a hiatus of spring break. I went to Cabo. Pete went to Record Store Day. We all got lost in the house, but we're back here live. So thanks for joining us today. It's a dead day for baseball. It's an off day for both Cubs and the White Sox. So everybody can,
thank God.
Absolutely no bad hot takes on Twitter at all today for a Monday. Absolutely not really at all. No. At zero, none, zilch. And I'm being very shocked at this
everybody's point. Calm, cool, and collected.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's everyone's got a real good head on their shoulders. No one's overreacting. No knee-jerk reactions for sure. Everyone's really just, almost as if they expected all of this to happen. Like, it was,
Yes.
Ooh, wow, we're laying it on thick. But welcome. I'm glad you guys could join us again. We're having a good time. We're going to be talking a lot about, obviously, we've got some baseball to talk, especially in this circumstance, because while the sarcasm is kind of laid on, we're pretty thick. It's been a rough week for Chicago sports in general, but especially Chicago baseball. It is that bad when the Cubs have the most wins of all the Chicago teams combined with 2-6 in their previous 8. So not great. And the White Sox obviously are in the throes of a 7-game losing streak. The Cubs are in the throes of a 4-game, or no, they've lost.
No, they won the Bears beat the Steelers Saturday.
Yeah, that's right. So they won 21-0, but they lost 3 of 4 to the Pirates, who are arguably the worst team in baseball besides the Reds. And,
or the Orioles.
Oh, the Orioles, yeah. So they showed who they are, I guess. But we'll get into all that stuff here in a second, not to put the cart ahead of the horse. But it's been a rather interesting couple of days on Twitter. So the harbinger of death and the Tony La Russa old man jokes have sparked up again, and we've got a lot to talk about here. But we appreciate you guys jumping in. Make sure, right. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit the follow button. Maybe leave us a rate and review if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify. Make sure you guys like the podcast, follow the podcast, listen to the podcast, and join us for some fun every week or every other week whenever we're out here broadcasting. But it's been fun. We've been out a little bit, so we've gotten to kind of refresh ourselves. Again, I had my spring break, so I was out of town for 8 days in the beautiful city of Cabo San Lucas, and
you suck.
I'm there. Had to rough it there on the beach for a while, but
you suck.
I come back. I needed a vacation from my vacation, so we're back to the doldrums and the grind. So we're ready to go. So I guess let's get right to it, Pete. The White Sox, came into the season. They jumped out real quick. 6-2. and hit a little rough patch, a little injury bug, and just some bad luck, some rain, and a couple of rainouts, and some doubleheader, and it just trickle. Next thing you know, it's a 7-game losing streak. Tell us what happened. Tell us what's going on, and fill us in, and so that everyone that's listening that doesn't know the story, which must be living under a rock,
right, or they're not on Twitter.
Oh, that's true. And we're not scouring the Facebook.
They're not on Elon Musk's new toy.
Musker. Wait, no.
Yes. Instead of the Twitterverse, it's going to be the Muskverse. But so on Easter Sunday, the White Sox lost to Tampa after taking the first 2 games, and then they go to Cleveland, and the Cleveland series was just weird because they were supposed to have a 4-game series Monday through Thursday. But Monday got rained out, and Tuesday was snowed out, if memory serves correctly. Rain out, snow out, close enough. So they wind up having 1 game rescheduled into July, and then they played a doubleheader on Wednesday to make up one of the games that they lost. So things just went downhill from there. In the first game of the doubleheader, the first batter hits the ball to Tim Anderson, who proceeds to boot it. The second batter hits the ball to Jake Berger, who proceeds to boot it. You could tell things weren't going well, and they just went downhill from there. Second game, the errors continued. The Thursday game, because those 2 games were played on Wednesday, the Thursday game, the errors continued. The Friday game, another error. Saturday, errors. Sunday, errors. They committed at least 1 error on every game of this road trip. Every game, at least 1. And I believe, if memory serves correctly, in the first game of the doubleheader, they had 5. 3 of which I believe were by Tim Anderson. 5 errors in a game. That's not a recipe to win at all. And to me, watching the team, it looks like that 2 days off, but to be honest, you could even see it before then. It looks like they forgot what fundamental baseball looks like, because hit the fucking cutoff, man, for God's sakes. And yesterday, you might have seen Mailman Jack said Tim Anderson just committed another error. Yes, and I'm going to go into a little bit of why I think Tim Anderson had such a bad week. There's 2 factors involved. One is pure speculation. Well, both are pure speculation, to be honest with you. But you are not going to win when you give up extra outs, you give free passes. And yesterday, you might have seen me on Twitter raging about the Quintana, because the Sox were doing it again yesterday. They would get ahead 0-2 on the batter. Next thing you know, it's a full count. The home run that Byron Buxton hit to tie the game, he had an 0-2 count on him. It went full, and he knew a fastball was coming, and he massacred that ball. That's my point about the Quintana stuff. Either you put the guy on base for free, or he knows a meatball is coming and he could just swing with reckless abandon, because Bummer was unable to get anything over besides a fastball. And Sal, fuck you, Sal. How's that for anger? But unfortunately, the losing brings out the bad part of White Sox Twitter, because I tried to crack a joke the other day on Twitter where people were raging about Tony La Russa's lineup and Lurie Garcia batting 3, which, okay, I don't think that's optimal, but
now,
that's neither here nor there. You know what?
I feel like he had a 383 career. I feel like he had a 383 career batting average against the starting pitcher that day. I think that was something that I saw pointed out.
There was something like that, but you also have to factor in my opinion, how horrible he has looked this year.
Oh yeah,
he has looked lost at the plate. It's not like you go, oh, he's batting 220. let's try this out since he has such a good, since his numbers against the pitcher are so good. No, he's batting 091 for God's sakes. And that's not an optimal lineup at all. And, some people are mad. Why does Lurie Garcia keep playing? Well, I'll tell you why Lurie Garcia keeps playing. Because there's 8 players right now on the injured list, including Eloy Jimenez, including Yoan Moncada. Luis Robert is not on the injured list, but he was basically ruled out for the weekend, hope that his hamstring or whatever it was, his groin, is healed by time tomorrow night comes around. Yeah, you're going to put him out in 40 to 50 degree temperatures. Let him run around with what may be a bad hamstring or a bad groin. Yeah, that makes a lot of freaking sense. But the problem is there's a myriad of problems. And this is not me absolving Tony La Russa of all of this. I will absolve Tony La Russa of one thing and one thing only. He can only put out the lineup of players he is given to use. Now, this was a known issue. What I said before the season, if anyone remembers, is that this team can go far, but they have to stay healthy because the Sox, again, did not address the bench or anything like that. Not at all. They didn't address that at all. That's why you have Lurie Garcia playing so much, because they did not go and get quality bench strength. Lurie Garcia is not a starter. I think everyone agrees with that. Lurie Garcia is the Swiss Army knife. If you play him too much, like you are now, you are exposing him. Remember, Josh Harrison's hurt too. So I am absolving La Russa from that side. Some of the decisions, like pitching to Byron Buxton in the 10th inning yesterday with a 3-1 count, in which he hits a game-winning home run, that was pathetically bad. Yes, to that one person who called me the Tony La Russa stan and who had all of these tweets about things I said about Tony La Russa, which, by the way, I hate to burst your bubble, I stand by everything I said. You know why I stand by everything I said? Because I fucking said it, okay?
And you said it in 2020.
Yes.
He's using he's quoting tweets that you posted before they even played their first game.
He's quoting one tweet where I told people, you may like it, you may not like it. Tony La Russa is the manager of this team. Guess what? You know why I said that? Because it was fucking true, and people couldn't accept the fact that Tony La Russa was hired over A.J. Hinch, because I told everybody who'd listen, A.J. Hinch was never going to happen because Jerry Reinsdorf would never sign off on it. And to all those people who got so mad about how dare Jerry interfere, this is at least the 3rd time he's interfered. The first 2 times worked out pretty well. Do you know where they are? And do you know how we know we have proof? The first one, if you watch The Last Dance, was to keep Phil Jackson for the 98 Bulls team. Jerry Krause wanted to fire him after they won the 5th title. But no, Jerry Reinsdorf stepped in and said, no, Phil needs to stay for the 6th. Okay? So I think chalk that one into Jerry Reinsdorf's corner for the right decision. The second one, for all you know-it-all Sox fans, Ozzy Guillen wasn't the first choice in 2004 to become manager of this team. As a matter of fact, Ozzy Guillen was an afterthought to Kenny Williams about becoming manager of this team. Kenny Williams was ready to hire Cito Gaston when Jerry Reinsdorf said, hey, you should go talk to Ozzy. So there's number 2 interference that turned out pretty fucking good too. So stop with your stupidity, okay? Know your facts.
And hot take real quick. All you people calling for Ozzy Guillen to take over now. First off, if he was so good, why does he not have another job from somewhere else? Because he's such a hot commodity. And B, I'll go one deeper. Cito Gaston also wins the World Series in 2005 with that roster. Sorry, not sorry. So you can say what
I think Jerry Manuel could have won the World Series with that roster in 2005. And I hated Jerry Manuel as a manager.
And yes, Jack Gaston was beautiful in Beauty and the Beast. That's the wrong Gaston. Tito Gaston. But
Gaston.
the fact is, and it's always the grass is always greener. We always joke about it, in the coaching circle. When you're the head coach, the assistant coach is always they could probably do it better.
Well, no, that's the second most popular person in Chicago. The backup quarterback is by far the most popular person in the city of Chicago.
Absolutely true. That's true. Yeah. So it is. I mean, you're dealing with this, and again, you look at you pointed out some really good things. Tony La Russa is not in charge of execution. Tony La Russa doesn't make the pitches. Tony La Russa doesn't throw the baseball, field the baseball. Yes, Tony La Russa is in charge with repetition, but guys, this is a freaking professional baseball player these are professional baseball players making these mistakes. It's not Tony La Russa's job to make sure that they are game ready when they roll into spring training and game ready when the season starts to an extent. They can only do what they have the time for. There's only a limited amount of time in the calendar. And if these guys weren't putting in that time in the offseason, there's nothing Tony La Russa can do as a manager to give these guys those reps. There's not enough time in the day, and there's not enough legality when it comes to their collective bargaining agreement to even get them out there enough time to get the repetitions to get them ready for this. So if you're seeing guys that are starting slow like this, guess who that falls on? Not the old guy, not the coaching staff. It falls on the player for not getting as much reps during the lockout as they should have to be prepared and hit the ground with their feet running the minute it was time to go. And it looks like some of these guys just aren't ready. And the beautiful thing about a long 162-game season is they will get their sea legs eventually, and they'll play the baseball they're capable of. But the slow start, and I said it last year, and I got crapped on by Jason Hayward stands, the same thing. You can tell who prepared in the offseason and who didn't by how it comes out of the gate. When they come out of the gate and they force teams to make immediate adjustments to their adjustments, they put in the time in the offseason. Players that don't, it's obvious they didn't. And so you're seeing the results of that, not just with the White Sox and the Cubs, but across the league-wide. So it's something to take into consideration. I mean, White Sox fans and Cub fans, sometimes we get stuck in our own little echo chamber and think we're the only, woe is me. It only happens to us. It's happening everywhere. You're not that special. Yes. Relax. Calm your tits, okay? It's not that way. And so you've got to have that as well, that mindset. I mean, we're 15 games in the season. I'm seeing fire sale.
Blow it up. Rebuild the rebuild. I saw that one too. Rebuild the rebuild. God.
I mean, if it's not 50 games or more, what are you talking about? Shut up, word salad. Like, that's so stupid. Yes.
And there was someone who said they miss Ricky Renteria. Okay, for someone who claims to be an expert who misses Ricky Renteria, obviously you did not watch Ricky Renteria manage, because he managed, but he had no feel for the game at all. I know this is a sensitive subject to my partner, because my partner actually knows Ricky Renteria, and I will say this. I think Ricky Renteria is a wonderful man. He absolutely is. He is a terrific person. But I think there were some of the strategies he deployed and some of the lineups he put out there. You could tell who he did not like as a player. Zach Collins, for one. Ronaldo Lopez, for two. You could tell who he did not like as a player.
He liked Kevin.
Right. And also, can I respond to a couple things in the comments here? First, Sal puts, 2005 was 17 years ago. Players get old, but a manager stays frozen in time. You're absolutely right. That's why Mike Ditka's beloved. Everybody still thinks of Mike Ditka from 1985, not the train wreck that was the early 90s Bears. Or with Ozzy, and also AJ Pierzynski falls into that category, because I did see someone tweet about how this team needs Ozzy and AJ. Well, if they were such great leaders, what happened in 2007? What happened with the collapse in 2011? In 2012, they collapsed. Ozzy was gone. Robin Ventura was the manager. But why didn't AJ do anything about the collapse in 2012 if he was this great leader who men followed? Where was he? I'll give you a hint. He was leaving as soon as the game was over. So you have to look at the game today. And to your point about Ozzy and, why doesn't he have a job? I think people can I think in fairness to Ozzy, I think there are some factors for why he doesn't have a job that do not directly involve him. And I will just leave it at that.
You're talking about his sperm?
I will just leave it at that, but yes.
His little swimmers got
Yes.
a mouth.
Yes.
Ooh, they don't do well. I mean,
Right.
who is it? Who is it? But
Mhm.
that's just again. And Yump says, look what happened in Miami.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
lightning in a bottle is caught once. You don't catch lightning in a bottle twice usually.
Well, the thing with Miami with Ozzy is the comments he made in Miami about Castro. He also made when he was manager of the White Sox, but the population is quite different in Miami versus in Chicago, where an off-the-cuff Castro comment in Chicago is like, that's just Ozzy being Ozzy. Whereas you say it in Miami, whose population is what? Cuban?
Large.
Not smart.
Yeah.
Not smart. So, he got away with it. That's why he felt like he could still do it, in my opinion. Obviously, I didn't ask Ozzy. I'm not in his head. I don't know.
He was in the same Reinsdorf bubble that Tony La Russa is in right now. He was
Yes.
insulated and protected. You can go, you can be mad all you want at what he says. It's not going to change Reinsdorf's mind. He's going to stick with his people. And it's the same thing right now. All this calling for firing it's just you're wasting your fingers and your breath. You're wasting your oxygen. It ain't going to happen.
People. Right. Okay, people. Tony La Russa has a job with the White Sox as long as Tony La Russa wants a job with the White Sox. He will not be fired.
Find a better outlet.
He will ride off into the sunset when he deems he wants to ride off in the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think he originally came on board as a one-year manager, and they were gunning for the title last year. That's why they make the Kimbrel trade. They were going for broke to try and ride off into the sunset. Because I truly believe if they win the title last year, which we know they didn't, that Tony's gone. Tony's like, yep, got my friend his title. I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know someone said, come on down, Miguel Cairo. Please no. Please no.
Also on this coaching staff. Like,
mm-hmm. I could actually see Joe McEwen getting the job over Miguel Cairo, to be honest with you.
It's a moot point to even talk about it, though, because this is kind of funny. This is where we're at with where the White Sox, a lot of White Sox fans are, unfortunately, in that twitter.com especially. I posted something, I guess it was just yesterday. I mean, it was only 3:40 yesterday. I posted this. It's just, I just the White Sox is after the loss. I said the White Sox will still win the division. Yep. We'll still win meaningful postseason games, and we'll still make a run at a World Series title. Mm-hmm. A rough week doesn't change that. Step away from the ledge, Sox fans. Bad stretches are taxing, but they inevitably end. This too shall pass. Now, I posted that yesterday at 3:40. 35 retweets, 13 quote tweets, 394 likes. It is at 48,000 impressions and 2,000 engagements and 1,500 detail expands. And when you read the comments, scrolling down, it started really positive. Like, I needed to hear this. Thanks for talking. I want to believe this. And then as it started to spread out through the Twitterverse, right?
Yeah. Or the Muskverse now.
Yeah. It's delusional. You don't think the injuries will stop from the last 2 years injury record? I just don't see it. Or watching the second of 2 wasted seasons because old boy Jerry wanted his drunk friend to manage this team. This franchise is maddening.
I agree with the franchise is maddening. I agree with that.
Teams that lose 8 in a row don't make runs to the World Series, even though the 2006 Cardinals had 2 separate 8-game losing streaks when they won the World Series.
And won how many games in that season? 82?
Yeah, exactly. And won the World Series.
Yes.
Again, just laughed. I had a couple Cub fans thinking I was actually trying to sarcastically make that comment, but I didn't. And the fact is, it's so unfortunate that we've talked about this last year even, and we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary with this show. We've talked about it on here so many times. You're going to miss out on enjoying the ride because every day is a gosh darn nuclear war when it doesn't happen in a 162-game season. 15 games in, and everybody, a large contingent is ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater instead of patiently waiting. The immaturity of their fandom, the lack of insight, foresight, and really, to be honest, wisdom is gone if you're panicking at this point. Mm-hmm. Look, they're 6-9. How many opportunities do you get in one season to be actually 6-9? one shot at. And they landed that damn Apollo 15, Apollo 69, and got a 69 record. Nice. So now they can move on and go ahead now, just start
69.
rolling. Right. And so we have that. And it's, you look at this whole thing, when everyone jumps out of you're going to miss the joy. And I'm telling you this because White Sox fans, you know this, you go to the games, whether you sit in the 108 or you sit wherever you sit at Guaranteed Rate Field, the home games and the energy that you bring changes the game. It's not a clever hashtag. You as fans bring or destroy wins and losses, mentalities and mindsets. If you roll in grumbling and booing and pissing and moaning tomorrow in this Royals series immediately out of the gate, you're going to make things worse for the franchise. You are actually hurting these players. Tomorrow, when you roll into the stadium, you need to be their biggest pick-me-up. They need to remember why they love all this, no matter what the hell's going on in the locker room, that nobody has any proof anything's going on wrong in there in the first place, but nobody likes to fucking lose 7 games in a row. So I'm sure people are grumpy as shit because everybody gets grumpy as shit because champions don't like to lose. So it's okay to not like to lose, and it's okay to be pissy when you're losing. That's okay, but bring it the next time. And this is where the fans come in. Love, pick them up. They need to be picked up tomorrow. It's as big a fan game as you're going to get in April in a baseball season. The fans need to show up and let these guys know, relax in order to max. We're still here for you. We're not going anywhere. Because 15 games in, half the people are ready to kick them off the boat without a life jacket. That's not loyalty. That's horse crap, to be honest. Be a loyal fan, for God's sakes. Pick your team up. Have a little bit of optimism until there's time to, when the season's over, you can go ahead and say it's over. It's 15 games in, meatball. Calm your tits.
Well, I will say this. I think part of the issue is 2005, the specter of 2005. Because remember, that team led wire to wire. They won their first game of the season and never got out of first place. Came close in September, mind you, but they never relinquished first place. So fans have that view of, well, if you're not leading from day one, you're not really winning the division. Guess what? They started out like this last year. Remember the Cincinnati game with Liam Hendricks running the bases? That was last year. Remember that? Remember the outrage about that? Remember all that? That was last year. Remember that? Oh my God, the sky's going to fall. Eloy Torres tit. Oh my God, what are we going to do? But that brings up my issue. This team, every year, look at it. Eloy gets at least one IL stint. Moncada gets at least one IL stint. Robert gets at least one IL stint. Tim Anderson gets at least one IL stint. So we're not going to address the bench at all because they're all going to be healthy. Yeah, right. Look at your track record. They all get at least one DL stint. So why IL stint? Sorry, I got to be correct here. Why are you surprised that these guys are going on the IL again? And adding to it, you have a shortened spring training, and I think some of them, to be completely honest, Eloy, came in a little puffy. And I don't know if they were really ready. And I think part of it, too, is I think they were reading the press clippings about Vegas making them these big favorites to win the division and one of the favorites to win the World Series. I think they were reading all that stuff. And honestly, this might be what they needed to get to knock them back down to earth and make them earn it.
Don't you like to have adversity? Don't you like to have your team tested and see adversity early on so that you can get it out of the way? Because
I will say this. The reason the White Sox won the World Series in 2005 is because they had adversity in September with Cleveland closing the gap on them. And it wasn't that the Sox were playing bad. It's just Cleveland was playing out of their skulls. And all these people who sit there and say, the Sox squeaked into the division, they backed in. They won 99 games. They had the most wins in the American League in 2005. Go fuck yourself with that. They backed in. That was the fucking Tribune pulling shit. That was the Tribune and the Eastern Seaboard Programming Network because, God forbid, anyone is better than the Yankees and Red Sox. We can't have that.
Yeah, and then you take it, I mean, now, in 2022, 17 years later, 6 teams from the American League make the postseason.
Yes.
In fact, that right there is a game changer, but this is where you look at the last few teams that have won the World Series. Now, you take the Dodgers out in the 60-game season because, basically, it's a microwave. But you look at the
Astros.
look at the Atlanta Braves. They weren't the best team in the National League all year. They were the best team in the National League in September and into the postseason. They turned it on when it mattered. Then before that, before the shutdown, 2019, the Washington Nationals, same exact thing. The wild card, if I'm not mistaken, were they not the wild card?
I believe they were.
Again, you look
because I think the Braves won the division, and the Nats were the wild card.
You look throughout the postseason over the last 15 years. Look how many teams that just were not the best team in baseball, not the best record in baseball, but got hot at the right time. You peak in September. You don't peak in April. If you're peaking in April, good luck. You're done by the All-Star break. Their job right now, Tony La Russa, Miguel Cairo, Katz, everybody, Menachino, everybody's job right now is to keep pushing buttons, taking risks, trying things, seeing what works, what doesn't work, learning and making adjustments so that as you get towards the winning time and the money rounds of 162 games, your guys are building towards that peak. And last year, they peaked a little early. You could see that peak. It came in late August, and getting into September, the White Sox started to look a little bit more roughshed. They were not as sharp as they looked around, just after the All-Star break, around that time where they were kind of going out there and pounding people. And so you have to build and you try and catch. That's what you're trying to catch. It's like trying to jump onto a moving train, right? If you don't time it right, you're fucking dead, right? You're squished. You got to make sure that you time this properly. And so you're trying to hitch this train with your group, get as much head of steam as possible at the right time. And if everyone's worried about, they're going to push buttons, this is the time to fail. I know, yes, you can lose. You could not make the playoffs in April.
I see.
I hate to death because, yes, of course, losses don't help you. But productive losses, learning losses, they freaking do help you. They make you better because you adjust. They're going to turn around and win you 6 or 7 games down the stretch because this does work and this doesn't work. I tried this in a losing effort, but now we saw this does work. Even though it didn't pay dividends today, people are so much more worried on outcome bias than the actual process bias, which should be more of important over 162 games. The process is sound. Trust the plan. You don't have any other choice. So just grin and bear it and hope that things, yes, you could shit in one hand and hope in the other and see which one fills up first, but you don't really have any other choice. So understand that these coaches are trying to push buttons. The Houston Astros are 6-9. Okay. AJ Hinch is 6-9, right? The Cubs are 7-9. The White Sox are 6-9. Some of the best teams in baseball right now, the defending world champions, under 500. The Houston Astros, the other choice to win it all, under 500. You're seeing teams are just getting their feet and their sea legs ready. It takes time. You don't have to come out of the gate a gangbuster. You almost don't want to. And so it does. It knocks their head down a little bit. All of a sudden, maybe if there was a little ego with some of these guys, it slaps them across the face like a stinky-ass salmon, and they might wake up. And it's a better to learn now than down the stretch where maybe things can fall apart. Teams that don't struggle never, ever succeed in the postseason because they don't know what it's like. And that's why the Dodgers, struggled for so long when the West was so bad. They didn't have to be tested. They weren't tested. And then finally they get to the postseason and the Cubs kicked them right in the mouth twice. Once. And the Mets did it the other time.
The Mets did it the other time, yes.
By hungrier teams. And that's just what happens. You don't want to, honestly, who wants to be the best record in baseball other than for seeding purposes, man? You want to be that team you want to be that second team that everyone's like, oh, well, they could do well, but look at the big dogs. And you go and knock off Goliath and chop their head off and hold it up for everybody in the middle of the court. And you say, hey, we're here, bitches. And it's too late at that point because you're rolling. So,
and I'll say this too. The test for the White Sox came in September 2005. That is what hardened them because it was almost taken away. If you really look, go back to 2005 and look, from the day they clinched the division through the end of the World Series, they went 14-1. They lost one game, game 1 of the American League Championship Series. Paul Bird pitched out of his freaking skull for the Angels. They lost one game out of the rest of the year. One game. That's what you're talking about. Peaking at the right time, being battle tested, and understanding what you had and almost lost. It humbled them. It made them it made them hungry again, and they went out and took it. And the thing that frustrates me about this franchise, and it has as long as I can remember being a fan, their motto is hope for luck, not make your luck. Hope for luck was, well, you see that meme all the time. The White Sox plan, everybody stay healthy.
It's kind of funny.
that
And I wrote
that obviously is not working here this year. If you got 8 players on the IL already, you already had a stint by Giolito too. And another thing I'll say, everybody tooting Giolito's horn about, oh, he's back and he gave the Sox what they need. He pitched 4 fucking innings. Do you know why he pitched 4 fucking innings? Because he threw about 28 pitches in the first goddamn inning. He needs to tighten it up too. You know, if you want to be the big dog and you're in a losing streak, you got to go out there and take the ball and stay there a while.
Somebody has to. That's what an ace does. That's an ace's job, is to stop the bleeding.
Mm-hmm. And can I?
He's been out for this losing streak until his start on his return start. So I mean, you didn't get an opportunity. He could have cut that streak in half with a big, a bulldog effort in the middle of that if he was able to play. But obviously he was out, so you don't have your ace to go in there and stop the bleeding. And you almost can't expect your ace in this first game back after injury to be that big a stopper immediately. But now, I mean, you're going to see. I mean, again, Sox, they're going to go 7-2 in their next 9. You just watch, and people will, again, it's so crazy how just 1 week of, I mean, that's just a week between games for the Bears. Like, Bears fans are ready to get down, after 1 week. I mean, it's brutal, and we're seeing it like with 7 games. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
So,
and remember, it's 162 games. It's not 17 games like the NFL. It's not 82 games like the NBA and NHL.
Yeah.
Or 60 games like it was in 2020. It's 162.
And the cream always, always, always rises to the top. The superior teams over the duration eventually play as they should. You're going to get a few outliers, but the teams like the Sox, like the Astros, the Braves, these teams will be there at the end. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. Inevitable. What is that from where he does that? It's inevitable. He can't pronounce it.
It's Avengers. That's Thanos.
No, I was thinking it was no, he says that too, but it was somebody with a speech impediment to try to have him say inevitable. And he's
try and have that idiot from Princess Bride say it. Inconceivable.
Right. Yeah. But, that's where we're at. And they'll go 7-2 in their next 9, right? And those 2 will be the end of the world, right?
Yes.
You're going to see some of these guys get hot. It's heating up. The weather's getting better. Again, they shortened spring training. There's so many things you can point at as to why they're struggling a little bit. And there's very little you can point at other than Tony La Russa's bad as to why they're struggling. Instead of using common sense, it's so easy to just say Tony La Russa sucks.
Well, didn't you know Tony went and told Tim Anderson to commit all those errors? Didn't you know that?
Oh, or how about when Tony pulls out Tim Anderson because he had, what was it, like an abdominal pain or something? And he benched him and there's problems in the clubhouse now. No, he took him out because he had health problems. Tim Anderson needed to come out. He knew it too. He came out. Like, it wasn't like I'm getting benched. He didn't get benched. He was hurt. It was trying to protect the team. So,
and again, another case. Hope they don't get injured.
And look, I'm not defending Tony La Russa in a lot of things. There is no reason that as a manager, you shouldn't be dead freaking sure that Buxton's not going to get a pitch to hit 3-1 with the winning run at second and the tying run at third and nobody at first in the bottom of the 10th inning with one out. That's something that as a manager, you double check. You go, are we clear? Do not give him anything to hit or drive in this situation.
If you walk him, he doesn't matter.
And
his run doesn't matter.
And I have to say this, and I don't know if it's disingenuous or not. I really felt like a lot of the stuff that Tony La Russa was saying at the press conference was simply to protect Ethan Katz for failing and is protecting his player for maybe, I don't know. I mean, in what world does a fastball cock high in a 3-1 fastball count in that situation against a guy that's already hit a jack and that's on fire right now? What thinking would be that that's the pitch you want to make? And so somewhere there was a disconnect or a miscommunication. And I think, Tony La Russa, his excuse for it was such bunk that it felt like he was trying to just word salad something to protect his guys. That's what it felt.
That's the second time he did that last week. The second time. Because if you remember, what did he say after the doubleheader? He did not have them ready to play.
He took point.
He took all the heat for it. And unfortunately, some people don't understand. He's acting as a lightning rod to protect his players.
You pass the credit And
Take the blame.
Yep, you pass the credit where the blame. That's a good leader. That's what good leaders do. That's what I mean. I hate to say that because I know there's a lot of people in this world that say, "Screw that guy. I'm not going to go down with that person." Well, that's the difference between maturity and being a good leader, and then being someone that leads from the back. Because good leaders lead from the front. They're willing to be the cannon fodder, to wear the punishment. Because in Tony's case, he just doesn't give a shit, which is great.
Right,
like the Jay Cutler of managers. He's just like,
which is I absolutely love that trait. I would love to be at a point in my life where I just don't fucking care. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I don't need this job. I'm just doing it to help out my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So say what you want. I don't care. I'm invested in it, but you know what? I can go home tomorrow and live comfortably, and it wouldn't mean a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, I'm sort of envious of that attitude in a way, to be completely honest.
Yeah, sooner or later we'll get there too.
Yeah. I'm working. When I win the lottery or Sox split, I'll get there.
But there are some positives. The sky is not falling for White Sox fans. Things to take note of. Andrew Vaughn is starting to play very well, and I know it's frustrating. He has 44 plate appearances. He's played in 12 of the 15 games, so he's only not played in 3 games. But the way that White Sox fans sometimes talk, you'd think he was out 5, 6, 7, or 8 games. He's played as many games as everybody in the entire White Sox roster other than Jose Abreu, who's played 14. He is tied for second in games played. So relax the perception that Vaughn always sits. He does need to take some time, certain matchups. He's still learning. He's still a little bit young, but he's got a WRC plus of 180. He's hitting 300. He's got 3 jacks. He's driven in he's got his offensive WAR is sitting there. He's a 0.3 offensive. No, offensive WAR is 3.7.
Yeah.
He's doing it. He's doing well. His BABIP's actually pretty low. He's actually it's right at the same as his regular average. He's not Kane a lot. He's not taking a ton of walks either, about 7% of the time. But
most of the team isn't, to be honest.
Right. Well, and that's something that we'll talk about too. Because again, I was told on Twitter that walks are just as worthless as outs.
Yeah, that's right up there with the logic of a strikeout is just another out.
And take into consideration, Jose Abreu is better than this. Okay, reports of his demise are greatly exaggerated. He's starting to heat up now. His WRC plus is now at 112, which is better than an 100. A WRC plus of 100 is an average major league hitter, right? AJ Pollock was like at 250, and now he's come down a little bit. He's down to 94. Adam Engel, 81. Luis Robert, 75.
And those numbers are going to fluctuate early in the season.
You got to know that those players will not have a WRC plus under 100 by the time the season's over. They're not average major league hitters. They're above average. So that stuff is going to balance out over time. Abreu, Anderson is going to keep doing what Tim Anderson does, and he's fantastic, and I love him on my fantasy team, even though sometimes I need stolen bases, so I've got to start Mondesi because Mondesi doesn't play any other positions, damn it, and I can't bench Jose Abreu or Pete Alonso or Vlad Guerrero, so I'm pretty much stuck having to do I need a stolen base today? I'm gonna have to sit Tim Anderson. I hate it, but you've got all these guys that are not performing to their capabilities yet, but they're gonna get there. And you're seeing this White Sox team struggle when they're playing their worst baseball. Like, it can't get worse than this. And let's not be honest. Let's be real here. It's only gonna get better. And the Royals come just in time. You don't want to just you have to play the games. That's why we play the games, is you have to play them. But you don't want to, take it for granted. But, White Sox fans need to show up tomorrow. White Sox themselves need to show up tomorrow. Tomorrow they go out there, take out some frustration on the Royals, beat them, good 7-2 butt whipping, come home, take a deep breath, get back to 500 with the Royals, sweep the Royals, really would be great. And then start focusing on what is a pretty favorable stretch over the next couple weeks. I mean, they've got a couple against the Cubs. They've got,
if you can survive through May, because you get both series with the Yankees and you get both series with the Red Sox out of the way by the end of May. If you can survive that, you still got time to go to the West Coast. You still got you still got the Orioles, a full slate of games against the Orioles. You still got a full slate of games against Oakland. You still can eat.
I mean, look at this. Look at this schedule right here. When you're going in here, you got the Royals, and then the Angels for 4, which is great at home. So they're not traveling anywhere. And then they
go to Wrigley
Wednesday, which let's be honest, those should be White Sox should sweep that. Then you got a little bit of a test with the Red Sox, but then you got 3 against the Guardians back at home again.
Yes.
So the Guardians, that was just a weird doubleheader. You had two things like rained out and like it was horrible. It was just such a train wreck. That whole Cleveland that whole road trip was just a disaster. Is what it was. So road trip disaster. Back home, you're good, and then you got four more. You got the Yankees, and you got four more with the Royals, and you've got you got two more with the Cubs. You've got a pretty favorable schedule coming up here. They're going to be right as rain. They're gonna even out over time. It's the law of averages. It's going to eventually balance out towards the mean, and that's where Sox fans just got to be there. But there are so many good things to see from the White Sox. Offensively. When you look on the bump, you've got, some dudes that are going out there and they've thrown pretty well. I mean, there's nobody that stands out like freak show.
Tanner Banks is the one who really stands out.
10 innings pitched.
Yeah. Because of that story. I mean, he was an afterthought in the system. He's 30 years old, for God's sakes. And he's out there giving them quality innings. And if you've paid attention, you notice that he's been increasing his workload in leverage situations. They have been putting him out there to see, okay, you did good in this, we're up 10-2 or whatever. Yeah, right. You did good there. Let's see what you could do in a tight game.
Yep.
And he's responded so far. Does that mean does that mean he's going to respond all year? Who knows? But there's only one way you find out. You have to throw him in those situations so you know what you got. Now, watching, and I have to say this, watching Pinwheels and Ivy last week, I know that Father Zoe, Southside Zoe, our favorite guy, is absolutely done with Dallas Keuchel. And what do you do with him? What do you do? Because the Dallas Keuchel can lead to a very, very ugly situation from a couple of different angles. One, if they cut him, don't they have to give him that $20 million for next year? So you basically keep him on the roster. Then you try and manipulate it so that he doesn't get the 160 innings. Then you get Mr. Boris screaming how the White Sox were manipulating his innings so that he would not attain that that vesting option for $20 million for next year. This Keuchel thing can get really, really ugly. Really, really, really. It's already getting ugly, but it can get a whole lot uglier really quick.
Well, I mean, he can't get anything uglier than how he's been pitching. So, I mean,
yeah. Well, no, it can get uglier from a personnel clubhouse perspective.
Sure. And his comments didn't really help him last week. He had those comments after his last start. I think it was like last Wednesday or whatever when he.
Yes, the 10 runs, 8 of it earned in an inning and a third.
Manzo hashtag Dundum. He, it's more than just that. Cheeks. Yeah, I mean, these guys. People are expecting these guys to start, upping their workload. Yeah. I mean, I know Jackson, they're saying let us start to throw over 80 pitches. Well, really nobody's doing that right now.
Right.
Because we had a shortened spring training and some of these guys need a little bit more time to start stretching it out. I mean, even the high school seasons, they're just now starting to stretch it out and they're down to the final 2 weeks of their high school seasons. It takes a while to get these guys to the point where they can stretch themselves out. And push the envelope a little bit. You saw Kershaw come out with 80 pitches, doing a perfect game.
I want to talk about that for a second.
Well, the Kershaw is 100% the correct decision. He had shoulder issues.
Yes.
You don't play around. It's not that important. I mean,
he didn't pitch in the playoffs last year because of injury. He's in Minnesota. It's not like he's throwing in a dome, a controlled temperature environment, or out in California. He's in freaking Minnesota. It absolutely was the right decision. Then I see people saying how he's selfish because he didn't go out there and finish the perfect game. No, he would have been selfish if he stayed out there to try and finish it.
Risk injury and hurt his team.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hurt himself and not be available to them.
The problem is people look at these games and they look at these players as video game avatars. They think they just bounce back like a freaking video game. All you got to do is hit reset on your PS5. And all of a sudden, your player's got his energy back. That's not how humans work. I mean,
well, it's not only that. You have to look at it. I look at it this way. they have skills you and I just don't have. Let's admit it. You know, at the same time, we do things that they can't do. Can you go out and do your job for 162 days out of 100? What is it? 181
Mm-hmm.
to that level? No, I know I can't. There's days where I'm like checked out, or you just can't think straight, or you're hungover. But that's the thing. It's like it's a job to them. You need to understand it. It's a passion to us, but it's a job to them.
Livelihood.
And that right,
It's a
it's a livelihood to them. That's an even better way to put it.
livelihood.
Yes. Yes, they get well paid for it. But you know why they get part of the reason why they get well paid for it? A, because they're the elite of the elite, and B, they have such a short lifespan in that career.
Mm-hmm.
What you think everyone's going to be Nolan Ryan and throw 27 years? No.
Charlie.
What's the average life of a major leaguer? 5 years, if that.
5 to 7. Yep.
Yeah.
So with that
Oh,
said,
well, Sal, of course you check out a lot. I would expect that working for the government.
so we're gonna play a little. We're gonna do a little segment here. We're going to play this special game where we're probably going to bring in every week. And so we're going to allow Pete to answer the questions. I'm going to give him a bunch of questions in this game. This game is called What Is and Isn't Tony La Russa's Fault? So I'm going to give him examples, and he's going to tell me, is it Tony La Russa's fault or not? So it's like it's like Jeopardy. We're going to play this game. All right. So number one. Tim Anderson's error at the end of the game that cost them the victory. Tony La Russa's fault or not?
Absolutely Tony La Russa's fault, because Tony La Russa told him to go make an error.
See. Okay. Now, Hurricane Hugo in 1988. Tony La Russa's fault or not?
Yes, because he wanted a rain out in Boston that day, so he figured Oakland was traveling there. Let's get a rain out so my guys can get some rest. So absolutely his fault.
Liam Hendricks going out for a second inning with what sounds like an abdominal issue or a lower back issue to blow the game by giving up a 3-run jack to Buxton in the bottom of the 10th inning.
Oh, absolutely, because he wouldn't let him sit on the pot long enough to take a dump before he had to go back out there.
Eloy Jimenez running to first base, trying to beat out a ground ball, lunges for the bag, which then, of course, fundamentally hitting the back of the bag, thus injuring his hamstring in a large crash at first base in a game where apparently Tony La Russa told him to hustle hard or something. I don't know. Is that Tony La Russa's fault that somebody can't run the bases properly at age 24?
Yes, because it's obvious Tony La Russa did some voodoo or something to make him trip over the bag and hurt himself.
Gilbert Gottfried's dead. Tony La Russa's fault or not?
I think Tony spiked his drink.
See, Bob Saget. Tony La Russa's fault or not?
Yes, because I think Tony La Russa smacked him over the head, causing the concussion that led to his death.
The Bulls knotting up the series 1-1 in Milwaukee and then losing 2 straight in an embarrassing fashion at home. Tony La Russa's fault or not?
Yes, it is, and I'll tell you why. Because he probably reached out to Jerry and said, "We're going to lose the rest of the week. Can you have the Bulls lose so we don't look so bad?"
Matt Nagy's laminated play calling card. Tony La Russa's fault or not?
No, because that is not Tony La Russa's fault, because Matt Nagy was being him.
I like this game. Losing my virginity in a car in a parking lot to the Christmas Macarena. Tony La Russa's fault. Oh, wait, never mind. That's awkward. All right, so that was a fun little game. So we'll do that every week now. I'm going to start collecting every week situations in the White Sox season where it's the Tony La Russa. And we're just going to go ahead and simulate all the worst things in the world and blame Tony La Russa. More than likely, it's all his fault. Let's be honest.
And it's probably something that's already been said on Twitter.
Did you know, by the way, that he's old?
Tony La Russa?
Someone mentioned it on Twitter. They said that he's old. I didn't know that he was old.
Oh, yeah. I thought I heard something like that.
I've never heard someone mention that he's old on Twitter, ever.
No, not at all.
not once. I mean, that was a really good one. Zinger, really.
Yes.
And I think someone made a drinking joke. Oh, wait. Yumper, you asked a question. Did I do what?
Shat.
I don't know what I did there. I don't know. Maybe it was just Tony La Russa talking because it's his fault. But yeah, we heard Tony La Russa drinks. We heard Tony La Russa's old.
We heard Tony La Russa's a vegan.
We heard that everybody in the clubhouse hates Tony La Russa, even though there's zero intel saying that. In fact, most of the players have seemed to come out and say that they like him a lot. Let's see here. What else is that? So we'll keep knocking those up. So this week, at us, if you're watching a game, go ahead and
Svo. No, that's incorrect. That's someone else.
Hashtag Tony La Russa's fault, and give us the scenario that you see, whether it's actually a baseball thing or if you're watching an episode of Severance on Apple TV Plus and you thought it was a bad episode. Well, is that Tony La Russa's fault or not? So hashtag Tony La Russa's fault at the Tainted Glove, and give us our scenarios. Next week we'll read your suggestions. We'll quiz Pete, and Pete will tell us what is and isn't Tony La Russa's fault.
And just remember one thing for us older people, Mailman Jack, this would be you also. Tony La Russa shot JR. Just remember that.
Yep. He also shaved Magnum's mustache.
Yes.
So he also and it's also his fault. Some of the White Sox game pooped their pants. So anyway, moving on to Ronnie Woo Woo and the Cubs. Now that we've kind of done this,
Cubs.
Woo! Don't tell me to woo. I'll woo. I'll woo when I want to woo. Don't you woo me. I'll woo you. Woohoo. So
someone was bringing the woo at guaranteed rate, and they were taking credit for making the Sox win because they were out there going woo, woo.
Who could that be? But whereas the White Sox fans are up in arms about the early start, expectations heavy as the head that wears the crown, yada yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. You've got the Cubs who. Now, if you've listened to this show or the Pinwheels and Ivy pod, the podcast I do with my guys Zoe and Aldo, you know that I have zero, and Yumper will be in the same category as well. I have zero expectations for this Cubs season. This is a under 500 Cubs team, always has been. They put together a team just good enough to sell us that Frank Schwindel and Patrick Wisdom are the next coming of the new core, and that some of these additions are going to be fantastic, and the Cubs are going to contend with only two pitchers in the rotation right now, and really a lineup that features Jason Hayward at all. So the Cubs came out and they did start okay. They beat the Brewers. They started out fine, and then they went to Colorado and split with the Colorado Rockies, which I thought was hilarious because the Colorado Rockies, they split with the Rockies, but Cub fans were insulting Chris Bryant about signing with the Rockies, saying, why would you play for such a shit organization that just split with the Cubs? And then it's a road game in Colorado. It's hard to win on the road. So then the Cubs came home and got beat 2 of 3 by the Rays, and then arguably one of the worst teams in baseball, the Pirates, came in and took 3 of 4 from the Cubs at Wrigley. So Cubs are now 7-9, which yes, it is a better record than the Sox, but we know that won't hold. The Cubs, their needle is going downward. The White Sox needle is going to start pushing back upwards. But the Cubs now are in a stretch that started Monday, and it's a stretch of, I want to say it was 17 games that started Monday and ends May 11th. But the Cubs, during that time period, they played the Rays, which they lost 2 of 3. The only real kind of cupcake on the schedule is the Pirates, which they lost 3 of 4 from. And then we move to the Brewers, the Dodgers.
Don't they go to Colorado?
They already did. They took they split.
Where do they go? Or they're in Atlanta. That's where they're at next, right?
Atlanta, Milwaukee, the White Sox, the Dodgers, and the Padres. No cupcakes other than those Pirates. And they lost 3 or 4 to the Pirates. So they went 21-0 in one game. They put up more points than Matt Nagy could with a regular offensive game. And
they beat up on the Steelers pretty good.
They clam up in the other 3 games. They don't score. They don't get timely hitting. Jason Hayward leaves dudes on base he's leaving dudes on base the way people leave bad dates or a Tinder date when they realize that they don't want to be with that person and they're wearing that red hat and they're like, I'm out. So you've got all this stuff, and it's just so bad. And it is. It's the Cubs are who we thought they were. There are some positives, obviously, but the Cubs are going to be a team that, I will judge this team on May 11th. When May 11th is done, if the Cubs are at 500 May 11th, they're not totally that bad. But I'm just telling you right now, by June, this team will be 10 games under 500 at minimum. I personally made a prediction the other day. I think that Wilson Contreras will not be a Cub as of June 1st. I think it's going to get so bad in the month of May that they're going to start selling.
You think it's going to be that fast?
I think it'll be faster than it would be. I think that the Cub fans are going to be looking at a longer dead season this year than trade deadline moves. I think teams are going to want some of these guys sooner than later.
I agree with that.
And so the Cub fans are going to be subjected to just the same thing we saw after the trade line, that doo-doo sandwich that we got to get force fed. We're going to, as Cub fans, we're going to have to experience a very long, extended, bad stretch of baseball in the same year that Tom Ricketts sent out a nice letter saying that we are going to use all of our resources to contend, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't really do anything. They signed Seiya Suzuki.
Was he talking about the Cubs or was he talking about Chelsea?
Right. They got Marcus Stroman. For two good signings, although Stroman's not throwing well. Seiya Suzuki is on a historic pace. One of the best starts for a rookie in baseball history. So that's good stuff there. You do have that kind of going for him. And he's fun to watch. He really is. I mean, the dude, he was off to one of the best starts ever. I mean, he was hitting 429. He had 4 jacks, 11 RBI right out of the gate. His runs created is off the charts as well. Like and I lost my, I learned on my.
Him and Quan were off to unbelievable starts. The Quan kid from Cleveland.
Yeah. I just lost my, what happened just now to my screen?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Redlands get it? No, I think Ricketts was mad at you for talking bad about him, and he sent the zapper. No, it's Tony La Russa's fault. That's what happened to your screen.
What do you know about funny old bastards? Sorry. All right, there it is. What I did was I pulled up my my screen into the TV.
There you go.
So now I just had to do that. Now I can turn the TV back.
Now I have to. Someone asked me this question, and now that we know,
Big Boy did it.
Yeah, now that we know Eloy is out, I say a minimum 6 to 8 weeks. They're saying 6 to 8 weeks. I think it's minimum. I could see it going further because he's going to have to ramp back up when he comes back. So I'm thinking 12 weeks to be at the most optimistic viewpoint. But is it time for the White Sox and Cubs to make another trade?
Possible.
Do the White Sox trade for Jason Hayward so he can come and give another speech to lead them to a World Series title?
No. I mean, look, Jason Hayward, and this, and we joke about it, but I mean, you look at the Cubs right now. Seiya Suzuki's got a 227 WRC plus. He's fantastic. Ian Happ is playing really great baseball. He's got 162 WRC plus. I'm really loving it. How those guys offensively. Ian Happ's got a 4.4 offensive WAR, but Seiya Suzuki has an 8.9 offensive WAR. Fantastic. 16 games into the season. But Wilson Contreras having a decent season. He's okay. He keeps grounding into double plays. He's only hit 255, but he's creating some runs. Nico Horner's on fire now. He had a 4-hit game the other day, and then, of course, David Ross sits him the next day.
But David Ross is a great manager.
Patrick Wisdom is as critical as I've been. Went from, basically one for like the first 7 games and then had like a crazy, insane good stretch against Colorado where he had like 5 doubles, 7 hits and 10 at-bats. Kind of righted the ship a little bit, but he is what he is. He's a 230 hitter. That's what he'll be. Again, that's going to go up and down, and he'll strike out. He might even set a major league record for strikeouts. Who knows? You got Jonathan VR, who's hitting pretty well for the Cubs, but they finally got their heads out of their ass, and they've brought up the little guy, their little rookie that they've been kind of hiding. I don't know. I mean,
the pitcher or
no? Gosh darn, I'll get him and VR mixed up together. Rivas. Gosh dang it. Rivas. And Rivas is a stud. He is going to be, again, there's really no stats right now on Fangraphs just yet, but his technical stats right now, in his start with the Cubs in 5 games, he's got 289 WRC plus. He's got 1 jack in 13 plate appearances. His offensive WAR is 2.3 already. He's a stud, but they sent him down for no apparent reason. And he's up.
Might have been making the others look bad.
I don't know, but now he's up, and so there are some good, positive things to look at. But this Cubs lineup is just not going to be a contender. And I'm not even like, Yumper and I joke around. It's been actually pretty enjoyable this season. When the Cubs win, I'm like, sweet, I'm happy. I'm not sitting here rooting for the Cubs to lose so I could be right. I'd like to be wrong very badly, but I'm not going to be wrong. So it is what it is with that. So it's fun to watch the Cubs play. I do enjoy that this team isn't like all three outcome. I do actually enjoy the fact that the Cubs lineup has a bunch of scrappers in it. And I love watching scrappers, but let's be honest, over time, scrappers are not going to get it done if you don't have big boppers as well. There are no real big boppers other than, say, a Suzuki in that lineup. Ian Happ to an extent as well, but not against the lefty. When he gets pushed around to the right side, he's no longer, he's something else. Although he's been swinging it well from the right side this year. He's had a really good start, but obviously that morale blend gets stale pretty quick, so he's got to be careful. So you have these types of starts. So the Cubs are where they're at. They're now in the stretch. The White Sox stretch. This is a crucial stretch for the White Sox to right the ship. This is a crucial step, a stretch for the Cubs through May 11th to prove whether or not they belong in the first place. And so keep an eye on that if you're watching the Cubs. There's not much to dig in with the Cubs. Kyle Hendricks and Marcus Stroman haven't been very good on the bump. Finally, Hendricks was good this past Sunday with when he had a 21-0 lead. That helps. For the most part, the starting pitching hasn't been great, and the offense has been a little bit inconsistent. So that's kind of where it goes. But in the end, this team is what we thought they were, which is a middle of the pack, 15th, 16th best team in baseball, to go along with their 15th, 16th highest salary in baseball for a franchise that's worth $4 billion. So a team that's supposed to contend every year because they charge the most expensive fan experience in the game is putting together a middle of the pack, mediocre squad of basically dudes that are 30-year-old rookies. So not great. And this falls on ownership, but the young pups down at the lower levels are getting it done. Brennan Davis is getting hot again. Pete Crow Armstrong, the guy they got for Hobby from the Mets, is just tearing it up. I think he's already got 10 stolen bases or pretty close already this season. He's hitting. I think he hit inside the park homer the other day or a triple the other day, and he just flies.
Oh. I am so that you guys got him. I am so jealous the Cubs got him in that trade because I would love to have had him drafted, and I still maintain Hassel from the Padres.
Oh yeah,
if you could swing a deal and get Hassel as part of the offset for taking on Hosmer's contract or something like that, do it. That guy's going to be a freaking stud.
Abrams in San Diego is a freak show too. I love him too. He's a really good ball player.
Yeah.
So that's where the Cubs are at. We're at that point where we're watching. Cub fans are, to be honest, we're watching the minor league players right now. They're more exciting right now than the pro team. The pro team's okay to watch. It's not a terrible product. Mm-hmm. That Reinsdorf thing, they're just good enough to not be horrific. So it's just good enough. But you're starting to see tickets. You're starting to see, again, Wrigley Field's not selling out. All the attendance jokes.
Cub fans, get ready to get some of your own medicine.
Yep. Turnabout fair play here.
Yes.
So get ready for it or show up. But honestly, I like that they're not showing up. Show Tom Ricketts that Cub fans are fed up with this BS gaslighting. I mean, in the end, we know who is at fault. We listen to what the Reds owners have been saying. What the other owners have been. And we had actual people that are in baseball that actually defended the owners. Like, what are you thinking? Get your head and remove it, please. Because these guys want your money and they don't give a crap about you as a fan. They really don't. Players do. But the owners don't. You are nothing but marks, in a con man's game.
You are nothing but a dollar sign. That's it.
Whereas the players do respect the fans. They love the fans. And that's why, again, like Tuesday, for example, is very important for the White Sox to have fan support. Even though it's just the Royals, they need to just be reminded that they are great. And that's what fans are for. So, in another multiverse, though, where things don't always go as planned, I went and saw a few movies.
Good for you. Didn't get a chance to make it to the show this weekend, unfortunately. It was record store day, so I had other pressing issues.
And we're going to talk about that here in a second, too. But I got to see a couple movies last weekend. I got to see Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then this past weekend on Friday, or Thursday night, excuse me, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a science fiction, martial arts, comedy, drama, hybrid, something from the directors. They call themselves Daniels, two guys by the last name of Daniels. They also directed the pretty funny Swiss Army Man with Daniel Ratliff and Paul Dano, where he finds a dead body on a beach that farts, and he basically becomes best friends with the carcass. It's really funny. Saw it at Sundance, actually. And this one, Everything Everywhere All at Once, stars Michelle Yeoh. And I always say his name wrong, and I don't want to say it because I know that he's really popular, but Short Round from Goonies and Indiana Jones. So Data from Goonies and Short Round from Indiana Jones. Hai Kwan, I think is how you say his name, returns to feature films and the other lead role in this strange multiverse film. You've got a couple other Jamie Lee Curtis. She stars as kind of an interesting character as well. James Hong, who is ageless. I mean, the dude he was old in Big Trouble in Little China. He's 93 now, and he's still playing dudes that he's hilarious in this.
And wasn't he also the maitre d' in the Chinese restaurant episode of Seinfeld?
Yes, he was. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
He's been in a million things. I mean, he's been acting as far back as 1954 was his first film in Dragonfly Squadron. So he's been around. So James Hong's in there, but a really fun cast. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is kind of takes the spin on the multiverse where there's this one character, the main character of the film, which is Michelle Yeoh's character, and her name is Evelyn. Evelyn is basically an immigrant who came over here with her husband and started, trying to chase that American dream. And now years later with a teenage daughter, they're kind of just going through the motions. And so it all starts out with them being audited by the IRS because she, rushed her taxes and didn't file them properly. So they're being audited. And it starts out with this whole thing. And midway through the audit, she is pulled into this whole multiverse concept by another version of her husband from another multiverse reality, where basically there is an all dangerous being that is going through the multiverse one by one and destroying each multiverse slowly but surely and consuming it basically. And so she is apparently the chosen one. We got the chosen one mentality, but she's not the chosen one because she's exceptional. She's actually chosen because she is the worst version of all the multiverse versions of Evelyn. So she's the shittiest person. She's the shittiest her in the multiverse, which makes her perfect. And so basically it's kind of Matrix style in the sense that she doesn't have any skills, but she can access the memories and skills of all the other versions of her if they do certain weird things. So like you have to do something very spur of the moment. Like at one point to learn how to fly a helicopter, they have to paper cut between each of their fingers. And then you can like get all that data, like, and you download it. So, or you have to learn to be a martial arts. There's one scene, I swear to God, it's two of the funniest scenes I've ever seen in a movie are both in this film. And one of them involves gaining powers by placing an object in a certain place. So, and to get their special martial arts skills. So it's like a really funny, like, again, it's drama, it's comedy, it takes us through the multiverse, and it really comes down to being a family film. The idea that it should be okay to be where we're at right here and right now, in the world that we live in, and that family matters, and that be nice to people. You don't know what anybody else is going through at the same time. And like, so this movie takes you through all these different emotions. It's hysterical. It's funny. The action sequences, Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan are incredible. Short Round's got some skills. And the fight sequences are awesome. They're funny. There's a hilarious fight sequence with, well, I guess you would call them nunchucks, but they're not really nunchucks. And this whole thing, the whole movie is just great. It plays well. It's a good sci-fi comedy. And at the end, it's really, it's got a 97% fresh rating. This is my number one pick right now. It's currently my favorite movie of 2022. So right now, I'm sitting at this film, Batman, and then the next one, which is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which came out in theaters this past weekend, which is the story of a Nicolas Cage playing himself. And so it's Nicolas Cage who's consumed with being a has-been. He wants to do more big budget action films, and he makes fun of himself, basically saying, he does all of these just because he just wants to keep working. He does a lot of bad movies. That's his excuse for doing bad movies. And so he owes a debt because he's been staying at the Chateau Marmont for like a year, although he lives in Vegas, by the way, guys. He actually gets drunk at Laurie's all the time. And the manager drives him home at night. But he has to, this stranger says, I'll give you $1 million if you come to my birthday party. So Nicolas Cage goes to Spain, where it's at, and he runs into, it's Pedro Pascal's character playing Javi, not Baez, just regular Javi, who's got a really large head. But it's so funny. So these two hit it off. They're both like kindred spirits, and it's really kind of it's a Michael Bay, Nicolas Cage kind of parody. Nicolas Cage plays a version of himself, but it's not really the real Nicolas Cage. It is a self-consuming, but a learning Nicolas Cage, and Nicolas Cage obviously is not this self-aware, I can guarantee it. But he plays it. It's funny. Javi, all the different characters. It's kind of funny too. Like, he has a fictional daughter in the movie. In real life, he's got, I think, sons. I don't think he has a daughter, if I'm not mistaken. But in the movie, the fictional daughter is actually the real life daughter of Kate Beckinsale, who is like my dream girl. from like my number one on the Dream Girl movie, your movie list of like top fives or whatever. She's been my number one for like 20 years. So
Is she the like on the list of you get a hall pass
that's not
if
number
you get
one.
the chance? It's
Number
number
one.
one. All right.
Absolutely. That's like a sorry. No.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, he does have his own couch at Laurie's. It's the Nicolas Cage couch. I showed it to Yumper when I took him, when him, and Carrie and Jen went out for dinner when they were in town. Yes, he has a son named Kal-El who plays the violin. And so, anyway, it's a funny movie. It really does play. If you're a Nicolas Cage fan, a lot of references like Captain Corelli's mandolin. Like what? Or in talking about different movies like Face Off. I mean, why couldn't they put the bunny back in the box? Popped into my head about 50 times during the movie. But there's so many fun sequences. I wrote a review of both Everything Everywhere All at Once and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent on the Tainted Glove website. So if you go to www.taintedglove.com, thetaintedglove.com, you can read them there too, a little bit more detailed. But I'll say this, I don't want a super spoiler, but I'll tell you, when you go see this, if you go see The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, there's one scene that killed me. Again, 2 very original films in 2 weeks. I was very happy. And I'm still got to go see The Northman. I'm going to go see that tomorrow. But there's a sequence in this where the 2 of them take acid and run amok. That's all I'm going to say. That's the only spoiler I'll give. They take LSD and they run amok, and it is hilarious. The 2 of them together for the entire 15, 20 minute, like whatever you want to call it. It's
interlude.
Interlude or whatever. It's hysterical. So both 2 films, these are, I've got Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Batman, and then Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. That's my top 3 of the year right now. You can't go wrong with seeing any of those 3 films. I know The Batman is now on HBO Max, so you can watch it there. It's always preferred to see it in the big screen format, but I know our guy Swo, has watched it like 47 times now at home. It's like his Brazzers, except it's just it's the Batman. So he gets comfortable, gets some food, pizza rolls, I hope, most of the time, because that's what I would eat. I was watching it over and over again. And so we got a couple other things coming. A lot of good movies coming down the line. Again, I'll have a little quick review of The Northman too. That's supposed to be really good. Viking kind of Norse, revenge Hamlet kind of thing.
And don't forget the Thor preview dropped last week, and that looked quite impressive with the Guardians with them.
Correct. And next Thursday, so a week from this Thursday, is the release Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Badness. So we'll have that one as well.
Yep. I'll be seeing it Thursday night.
Yep. We'll have for that episode, we'll both have seen it because I'm seeing it Thursday at 3 p.m. in Dolby, and you're seeing it that Thursday night as well. So
at 6 p.m. Central. So basically about the same time.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. So definitely worth seeing though. So Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, both getting massive thumbs up. I give it 4 fiddles out of 4 fiddles. Anyway, so with that said, you got to watch a couple pretty good TV shows that were Lakers centric. So tell me a little bit about Winning Time and the that Johnson doc. Sorry, Johnson doc on Apple TV Plus.
Yes. So right now, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you go and watch Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. You don't even have to be a Lakers fan to enjoy this show. It's quite fascinating. I will say that they do take some liberties with some things. And if you want a good laugh, watch the guy playing Larry Bird. It's freaking hysterical. Because I think all the guy does is swear, tell people he's going to kick their ass, and chew tobacco the whole time. It's freaking hysterical. Now, I also watched the Magic Johnson documentary on Apple Plus. And it's fascinating to watch the 2 of them in line with each other because Winning Time takes them. And let me just say, John C. Reilly as Dr. Jerry Buss absolutely nails it. Absolutely nails it. Yes, Jerry West does come off as a freaking psychopath. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doesn't come off very well in this show either, as just a moody, standoffish, not a people person at all. Just wants to be left alone in life. But watching Winning Time and comparing it to the Magic Johnson documentary, which basically the Magic Johnson documentary is his version of The Last Dance, where he is being interviewed telling his story interspersed with highlights and commentary from others. Michael Jordan does make an appearance. He talks about the 91 NBA Finals. He also talks about all the other NBA Finals he was in. So but it's fascinating because there's one plot point that in Winning Time totally contradicts what Magic Johnson gives as the story, and it is about his son. Because if you watch the episode of Winning Time last night, spoiler alert, Magic's girlfriend, who eventually becomes his wife, Cookie, is packing her bags, furious at him as he comes back in from a dinner with the old commissioner Larry O'Brien, the soon to be new commissioner, I forget his name, not Silver, but damn it, David Stern, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson. Now this is in Winning Time. She's furiously packing her bags, and she tells him that her friend Rhonda called, and you didn't wear a rubber with Rhonda because Rhonda's going to have a baby, and it's your baby. And in the actual documentary, Cookie finds out about the baby when the baby's like 4 years old. So it went from, right at, the baby's not born yet and she knows about it, to real life being when the baby's like 4 years old. So there's definite contradictions in both, but the Magic Johnson documentary, I give him the utmost credit because he does not hold back on what happened with HIV and AIDS. He does not hold back. He does not deflect from it. He, for lack of a better way to put it, he accepts that his actions led to it and how he's going to tackle it from that point and going forward through today by being an advocate for HIV, for AIDS, raising money for it and everything else. It's a fascinating documentary to watch. He talks about his relationship with, his friendship with his then friendship and now non-friendship with Isaiah Thomas, and how that ended. So it's really fascinating to watch, and I would recommend it to anyone. And Brian, yes, I would say probably about 99.5% of it is. I think it's.
You know what is true though? The Jerry Tarkanian stuff is true.
Yes,
Jerry Tarkanian stuff and how he was about to be hired is 100% true.
And so is the coach who falls off the bike and has all his medical issues.
Yep.
I can't think of the coach. That is absolutely true too. That did happen when Paul Westhead came in and Pat Riley became the assistant. What happens is McKinney, the coach, does not get the job back in the real story. Jerry Buss highly recommends him for a job with the Indiana Pacers, and they keep Paul Westhead as the coach. But then, and they go into this on the Magic documentary, Westhead and Magic have a falling out. And that's why Pat Riley becomes the coach of the Lakers. And we know what happened after Riley assumed the controls of the Lakers. That's when they really took off after he became the coach. You figure they were in, I was thinking about this as I was getting ready for this. They were in the finals in 1980, 1982, 1983, 1984, 1985, 1987, 1988, and 1989. They were in the finals 8 times in the decade. 8. And they won 5 of them. They lost 1 to the Sixers, they lost 1 to the Celtics, and they lost 1 to Detroit. And he talks in great deal about how much it hurt losing to Larry Bird in their first pro matchup. Because he talks about the college, the highest rated college basketball game ever shown was the Michigan State-Indiana State game, Magic versus Bird for the NCAA title in 1979. He talks about that and how him and Larry Bird are 2 different people. And he tried to be friendly with Larry, and Larry was having none of it. And Larry Bird, to his credit, said, yeah, I was having none of it. It was all on me. I was the dick.
Yeah. I think it was competitive people, like competitive edge.
Yes.
The only one that's so funny, the only one that's really not in that crew of like the superstars of that generation is Isaiah. Everyone thinks Isaiah's a craphead. So
Yes. Well, look at Michael Jordan's one comment in The Last Dance. You can tell me whatever you want. Doesn't mean I don't still think he's an asshole.
yeah, and in Winning Time too, the Vic Weiss stuff, which is Tark's close friend, the guy that was found in the trunk.
Yeah.
He wasn't. There wasn't a business card stuck to his cheek. That was kind of like they threw that in. That's fiction. But this is, I mean, it's a true story. June 17th, 1979. I mean, he left the Beverly Hills Hotel after a meeting, allegedly with Jerry Tarkanian, apparently, and he never came home. And he was found in his trunk. Most of it, when you look at it from a deeper, now that there's been years and years and years, they've taken creative liberty. But the fact is, I mean, it probably had to do with some gambling debts. And we know at the time, Jerry Tarkanian did keep company with certain individuals and
of questionable character. Well, maybe I could have been his friend.
But when Weiss was obviously killed, Tark, lost of his friend, and then he did want to stay in Vegas to keep the gig. And
wasn't part of it Tark also wanted to give the NCAA a big middle finger too?
Yeah, that too. But I mean, when your friend is found 2 shots execution style in the back of their head in a trunk with their briefcase, their wallet, diamond ring, and watch not being taken, robbery isn't a motive. So there was a message being sent, and the murder was never solved. More than likely it was about $60K in debts that he owed, not really much to do with the Lakers deal or the Tark stuff, but that is 100% true thing that happened, and that kept Tark from, the rest is history. Tark, wins a national championship with UNLV, and you get Pat Riley, and names are made. So that's a really cool. It's so again, it is a show. It is a very more. It's more closer to semi-pro than it is Hoop Dreams by any means. But it's still it's an entertaining show. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yes,
it's a fun watch.
And like I said, John C. Reilly as Jerry Buss absolutely nails it.
Very cool. And now another thing I'll throw out there, if you haven't watched this on Apple TV Plus, and you do have Apple TV Plus, and you're going to watch the Magic Johnson doc, make sure I say Magic Johnson doc. Never mind. But there's another show called Severance. It's actually produced and written and directed by Ben Stiller, where it's about work-life relationship. Basically, it's a not too distant future where you could have a microchip implanted in your head so that when you go to work, you don't remember anything you do at work, and your work day starts off, and then when your work day's over, on, and you're leaving. So you have no memory of going to work at all. But that poses some pretty interesting philosophical questions, which is you actually are creating another personality, another you, when you're at work that you don't know even exists, because that memory stays at work only when you're in the office. So you have what's called an innie, which is the inside work, the work personality that you have actually, that is you. And then there's the outie, which is the person that paid for the service to be done and the microchip to be implanted, that live a whole life where they never remember anything they do at work. They go in there, they get in the elevator, and the next thing they know, they're leaving the elevator at the end of the day. So they don't remember any work done. So the ethical question is, are you creating 2 you, and is it unfair and inhumane to keep that other you trapped inside your work office? And it's a really weird concept, and there's 4 people. It's John Turturro. It's what's his name from, it's the brother, it's Derek, the brother from Step Brothers. Gosh, what's his name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Adam Scott.
Yeah.
John Turturro, and then the dude, it's actually the dude that filmed Shang-Chi on the bus fight sequence for his TikTok or whatever. He's one of the 4. And then you've got, what's her name? Oh, man. Pete. She was in True Romance. My goodness gracious.
Roseanne Arquette?
Yeah. Patricia Arquette.
Yeah.
She plays the boss, and it's a very quirky, weird, but it's a very interesting show. Carrie and I, my fiance and I, started watching it on it was a Saturday afternoon, maybe, or maybe it was a Sunday afternoon. And there's 9 episodes, and we watched 8 of them. We couldn't stop. Every episode, we're like, oh, come on. Okay, keep going. And we were actually picking some friends up at the airport that Monday night, and their flight got delayed, and Carrie gets home from work, and she's like, put it on. I'm like, what? The last suit you'll ever wear? No, just kidding. Put on the show. So we throw it on, and we watch the finale. It's a great show too. So if you get a chance to watch it, it's Ben Stiller stuff. So it's a little cerebral. It's very well shot. lot of colors, a lot of angles, a lot of things that kind of mess with your psyche a little bit too, create paranoia and anxiety. A lot of Dutch angles for you film nuts that like to see how you create that illusion of panic in someone or in a character. So. Real good stuff. So that's good. That's good stuff too. And there's a lot of other stuff to watch this weekend. This is going to affect the Bears a little bit too. Yes. Thursday afternoon, I will be heading down to the link. Those you right next door to Bally's, where you guys were staying, actually. Yeah. I'll be heading down to the link where Las Vegas will be, for the first time ever, will be hosting the NFL draft this weekend here in Las Vegas. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm going to go down Thursday. Probably going to come home, let the dogs out, maybe like at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Head on down there so I can be a part of that first round. I know the Bears don't have a first round pick. I was hoping maybe they'd get one, but I still want to be there for them announcing it. I think it's real fun, and it's going to be a really cool experience. I've got this, you have to download this app. They're expecting like a record number of people in town for that. It's perfectly happening when COVID is kind of tapered back and people are traveling again. We're expecting a huge turnout this weekend, and but it's really cool. Thursday is just the first round, right? And they're going to be doing the whole circumstance. The stage that they have is going to go out in the Bellagio water, and then blah blah blah. But the actual draft is taking place over by the link. So after the draft, the first round ends Thursday night. Weezer will be playing a free show. So Thursday night at around 7, I'm going to go watch Weezer play its free show. This will be pretty cool. I'm pumped for that. On Friday, after the third round concludes, which the Bears actually will have some picks, so I may head down there on Friday too. Ice Cube will be performing after.
Oh, no kidding.
And then on Saturday, after
I just want to know if he does no Vaseline. That's all.
I hope he does, because then again, it's Raiders. And then after the 7th round ends on Saturday, Marshmello, who is a local, he does a lot of DJing here in Vegas, he's got his own, club based at this point, club deal. We'll be playing Saturday. It's, I won't go down there for that, but they're going to have all the fun NFL draft stuff, all the, the people watching, all of it. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to snag my fiance and have her, even though she doesn't watch football, I'm going to break her come down with me and be like, hey, we got to check this out. So Thursday night, I'm going to head on down there because I do want to see that first round experience. It's a first once in a lifetime kind of thing. It's free, which is great too. Free is always great. And so, we're looking forward to that. So if you guys are watching the draft this weekend, if you're watching that first round, watch for the guy in the Tainted Glove t-shirt. And I'll be wearing a beer cap. No, one of those. Just kidding.
One of those helmets with the 2 beer cups. There you go.
I'll make sure I'll position myself in a comfortable spot. So if you're looking, maybe you'll find me. But I'm there to see. I just want to see what it's like to be a part of the first round where. Now, with the first pick of the NFL draft, the New York Jets select, and then we boo. I want to boo the commissioner in and be a part of that. So I'm heading on down to boo, but that should be a fun experience. So I'll have some video. Tune in, to my social. I'll definitely be sharing some stuff between that and on Tainted Glove. Some of our, again, we'll have some talk about next week, next show. We'll be able to talk about who the Bears actually selected. There's a big draft for Ryan Poles, the new Bears GM.
Yes, it is.
Especially after Brian Pringle got arrested.
Yeah, oops. Another great move by the Bears. Another guy who gets arrested. Oops. But also, the NFL schedule is slated to come out May 13th. They're already talking about a Christmas Day triple header.
Ooh.
Like a noon, a 3, and a primetime game. And obviously, there's been no leaks yet of the teams of who will be playing on Christmas, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tampa was one of them. The Raiders being another one, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Raiders have a game there on Christmas Day. And one of the things I learned from last year, you can figure out what weekends the Raiders are at home right now if you really tried. Can figure it out right now. Go look at hotel rates for Sundays.
Yep.
From September through December. One weekend, if it's $50, and the next weekend, if it's $300, you pretty much know what weekends the Raiders are in town.
Also, back check that though with fights, UFC fights, and boxing.
Yes, that's a great point. Yes,
it's a big boxing weekend. Although when the Bears were here, that was a both.
It was because somebody won a lot of money and then offered to pay for everyone's ticket to go to the fight and then fell asleep.
I think that was
which also, by the way, let me tell this story. he actually, when we were there for the Bears game, he actually ran into Ludacris, who did the halftime show for that game. And he's going, Ludacris, what are you doing here? Like, Wally, he's the halftime entertainment.
And Ludacris responded, all right. That's all he says. How are you feeling today? All right.
But so yes, keep a close eye out. May 13th is when the NFL schedule is coming out. So you'll probably start getting leaks around May 11th of obviously the Rams are going to have the Thursday night kickoff of the season game. And, I don't know who they play, so I can't tell you who it would be. But they'll do the Thursday night game. And then, you'll probably have the Bengals having the Sunday night or Monday night game for being the AFC champions. And again, I don't know who they play because need to see what their schedule shakes out to be this year. But I do know that I've already been approached about tickets in Las Vegas to see the 49ers and the Colts.
Nice.
So the person who approached me about the 49ers is like, why don't you come out there anyway and hang with us? You can even go to the game if you want.
So, I was 100% giving you my Andre 3000, but
but also speaking of Andre 3000 and Ludacris, this past weekend was Record Store Day. And I had 3 albums that I wanted to get. I was lucky enough to get 2 of them. With the number 1 album, well, actually the 1 and 2 albums that I wanted, I got. I just couldn't get the third one. The first one would be the latest edition of a Grateful Dead live from 1972, the 50th anniversary of their 72 Europe tour. This is the Grateful Dead at Wembley Empire Pool, London, England, April 8th, 1972. And 6 albums in there. And then the number 2 that I got was the Rolling Stones' More Hot Rocks, which is their second release, not the greatest hits, because that was Hot Rocks. This is like the okay hits, if you will. So I got those. I missed out on the Nick Cave, but I have a friend, Jack, who is tracking it down to see if he knows someone who has it. So hopefully I'll hear some good news later this week. But I also wanted to say one more thing. You had mentioned what you thought was the movie of the year so far. This, by far, and I know those who are listening to the podcast cannot see it, by far the album of the year right now for me is Jack White's Fear of Dawn.
I'm in. I agree 100%.
It is incredible. Take the time to listen to it. It is just a solid album. Some of my personal faves are The White Raven, Heidi Ho. The White Raven, I really like. I think The White Raven may be my favorite song on the album, with Heidi Ho being second. And that's a great 1-2 punch because those are tracks 3 and 4. But it is a fantastic album. And I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone. I know, and yes, Jack, last year was Hot Rocks for Record Store Day. And I know that there are some people who aren't exactly who weren't fans of the White Stripes. Give this a listen. Jack White is just, all his solo stuff, in my opinion, has been outstanding. But this may be the best of the litter as of right now. And right now, I'd say this is the album of the year. I am anxiously awaiting the new Black Keys to come out in a couple weeks, which brings up a question for you. Have you seen the video for Wild Child by the Black Keys?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, yeah. You shared that
Is that what happened in the teacher's lounge? That's all I want to know.
I don't know if that kind of stuff happens, but real quick, I did pull this up for you because I know that you were mentioning it. This is a quick excerpt of Heidi Ho.
Yeah.
Which is You get a little bit of, you can tell it's just experimental Jack White, which is always fun.
Yes.
And then he jumps, take it down a little bit, and we'll jump to a little bit to the middle. So before we get copyright banged, but that's a great album.
I'm doing some walking.
And I'm going to see him live. I'm seeing him live May 29th. I got tickets here at Virgin Hotel. Or no, today it's Chelsea. Sorry, the Chelsea. So Jack White, May 29th, I'll get to see him perform that entire catalog, plus obviously some of his other stuff. I really hope they play a little bit of stuff from Dead Weather. Again, anything Jack White does, I'm a huge Jack White stan, so I believe he's one of the best guitarists. Him, Gary Clark Jr., I think, as far as the younger generation, there's not much that you can really compare between those two. I also think that this album is very different, but it has a lot of good kicks. Just like Black Keys,
Yes.
Dan Reynolds is a fantastic guitarist. It's just a sound, and it's a really good sound. And you're talking about the Black Keys music video. They're on tour this summer too. So we've got some really good rock bands that are going on tour. That whether it's Jack White, whether it's Black Keys, Rainbow Kitten Surprise. If you've never heard of Rainbow Kitten Surprise, they're going on tour. That's a fantastic live band. If you've never heard them, give them a look. It's Rainbow Kitten Surprise. They're great. Bastille is going on tour. We're going to go see Bastille at the end of May as well. There's a lot of really good shows coming up, a lot of good tours. So there's a lot of really good music. This is a good year for movies. It feels like right now so far, and I feel like music's been upper middle as far as quality too. So good stuff.
Yes,
good stuff.
And also I will say, if you are not doing anything on May 21st, the band Barren Plains is playing at the G-Man Tavern next to the Metro in Wrigleyville. Now, you may ask, who is Barren Plains? The bass player for Barren Plains is your friend and mine, Chirizi from the 108. So go out and support those guys. I've seen them live a few times. They're really, really good. It's really instrumental, but they bring it. So I highly, highly recommend. Also, I would say that one other thing to be on the lookout for, there's supposed to be a new Sonic 45 record later this year. That is the Len Casper and Matt Spiegel band with Doc Julin in there as well. My understanding is they have finished it, and it's just a matter of getting it, all mixed up and then printed and out. So hopefully something coming with that too.
Nice. It's as we're talking about supporting, people. I just as we're kind of putting a pin on tonight's episode, want to make sure we'd be remiss. Don't forget to smash the like button. Big thing. Don't forget to check out our website, thetaintedglove.com. All those reviews can be found on the website. But also, very big coming up this week. Is it this week? If I'm not mistaken?
It is Thursday.
Make sure you tune in to our sister program, Yumper and Swallow, at the show. They've got a very, very, very special guest this week. A big fan. All of us are big fans, in fact. And I think Swole might actually have to wear a pair of Oops, I Crap My Pants to make sure that he doesn't shat himself during this because he's so excited. But they'll be welcoming film critic and Chicago iconic film critic, by the way.
Author. And
all-around Sox fan as well, Richard Roper, to their show. So Richard Roper will be joining Yumper and Swole. They're really excited. So make sure you tune in for that. Check that out. Don't miss that. Those dudes are out there working it up, really, their love of film. It's great. That's all we do is talk about movies here, together in our chats and about people pooping their pants a lot. I don't know why that always comes up in the conversation. I guess pants crappers are a hot commodity in our chat, but give us a to listen, give them a follow, give them a like. It'll be also streamed here on our YouTube page as well. And we'll be sharing it through all the different social medias for you guys to see, but definitely check that out. Those dudes are working their butts off, and this is a big moment for them. They're super stoked.
Yes.
Support those guys. Get a listen. They're I'm pretty sure Swole's created like a PowerPoint. Presentation. They're taking this is them. They're flexing out there. So give those guys your support. They definitely deserve it. But check it out. That'll be
Thursday night. Yes. So during the draft. Well, at least the Bears aren't drafting, so know that you don't have to worry about that. But also, I would say they also are working on something that is quite huge, probably coming in early June. I don't think they have all the details ironed out yet, but it is something that I think a lot of people would really enjoy doing.
Yeah, it really all depends on if Ron Jeremy is convicted or not. But
and by the way, a nice shout out by Ozzy Guillen about Dylan Cease looking like Ron Jeremy last weekend.
Other than that, as we put a bow on this real quick, my last couple thoughts real quick to you guys, White Sox fans, stay off the ledge. Everything's going to be fine. Be nice to everybody. Have faith. You'll be there tomorrow for the White Sox, tomorrow for that home series. Boost them back up, uplift your team. Cub fans, we're in this together. We're going to enjoy this. Know what we're at, know what we are. I don't need a freaking text message every time Patrick Wisdom gets a gosh darn hit. Okay. I'm paying attention. I don't need a reminder every time because I don't text you every time he strikes out 3 times. So don't text me every time. Don't at me every time. But better yet, enjoy yourselves, guys. Be nice. Be good humans. Take care of yourselves. It's a beautiful time of year. Get outside. Go take in, go for a hike in the wilderness or a swim in the pool. Whatever you got to do. Find those inner flip flops in the brain and take care of yourselves. But with that, I got nothing left, Pete. So why don't you give us your final thoughts and then take us on out, bud?
Well, Lou, first let me say thank you everyone for listening. Without you, we're nothing. So thank you very much. For those who are interested, I did publish an episode of Collector's Corner last weekend where I showed off some Hall of Fame autographed bats. So feel free to go take a look at that. I have another one in the hopper that I'm working on. And when I say working on, it's just a matter of me compiling all of the memorabilia together so it's easily shown on the screen and everything else. But look out for that. That should hopefully happen by this weekend. Probably be done on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. Again, watch out on Thursday for Yumper and Zvo. They are very excited about it. It sounds awesome. I do know what the subject is going. Kevin and I both know what the subject is going to be discussed. We're not going to give it away here, but it'll definitely be a fun, interesting conversation to say the least.
Porm with an M.
Yes, it'll be all about porn. Everything you ever wanted to know about porn with an M. But, so pay attention to those guys. Also, like I said, I know they are planning something big for, I believe it's early June. And it will, and hopefully it will involve people who follow Yumper and Zvo at the show and the Tainted Glove. So pay attention for that as well. I think you'll be as excited as we are about the possibilities of it. But with that being said, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for your time. Sox fans, go out there, cheer the team. It was a bad week. There's no denying that, but there's plenty of weeks ahead. So let's go out there and cheer them on. For Cub fans, enjoy the ride. I mean, I don't think you expect to go to the World Series this year. It would be nice. Don't get me wrong. I think the target should be the World Series every year for every team, but we know that ain't the reality. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and enjoy the ride, enjoy the game. Fan how you want to fan. That's fine. Don't tell other fans how they should fan, though. That's, everybody can however they want. Just don't tell others how they should fan. Except the wave. Don't do the fucking wave. But with that, thank you very much. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the show. And with that, I will let our friend, our partner, our racing correspondent, the guy who knows more about racing than I ever will, or frankly, care to. Yeah, dog, take it away, and aloha.